Welcome, Bri, to No Rest for the Vivid podcast. Lovely to have you. Um,
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
you're over in the States, are you? Or yeah, whereabouts are you?
I am smack dab right in the middle of the United States. I relocated to Tulsa, Oklahoma during the pandemic
Oh wow.
from New York City. Definitely
Wow.
a life move I was not expecting. It was not on my list. I never thought I'd come back to the Midwest, and here I am.
Are you originally from the Midwest then?
I grew up in Minnesota and
Hmm.
then left at 17. Went to college, lived in Europe, went to Seattle, Los Angeles, New York, like kind of lived all over, was not planning on coming back to the middle of the country, but here I
You
am.
are. You just took the same journey as Chandler off of Friends. I'm sure everyone says that to you, don't they?
It is true. Everyone does say that to me. And yes,
Like
although
the only time I've heard of Tulsa.
I think his stint here was a little shorter than mine. I just hit 4 years and building some big things here. We now own a house here. Like my fiance's parents bought a second house down here. So like we're here for a little bit. Probably not forever, but for a little bit.
Oh, do you feel like you're a little bit of a nomad then with all of your where you've been and where you go and all the different places?
Kind of, I like to have a home base. I have learned actually this year that I have ADHD. And
Okay.
so the way my brain works, I really need to have like, I feel very untethered if I don't have some sort of stable place. In fact, my office is our shed. So I'm in my shed right now. And it's been so hot here the last 2 weeks, I haven't been able to work in the shed. And so I felt completely thrown off, like working from the dining room table or the sunroom or whatever. And it just messes with my mind in a way that I've never like fully recognized before. So I really like to have a stable home base with a desk with all my things. I got in here, I lit my candle, I lit my incense. I've got all my like stuff and it just feels very grounded to me. So I like traveling. I can work from anywhere. I was at a coffee shop this morning, but I like to have a home base.
Yeah, you like to have an anchor.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I coach a lot of people with ADHD and a lot of ADHD people in my people with ADHD in my membership. And I've got a lot of tendencies, but mine are more trauma related. But having an anchor just otherwise I'm like the same. I'm like a floating plastic bag if I'm not got where I am, what I'm doing, anchoring every day. So I fully understand where you're coming from with that, definitely.
Yeah. It even
So
comes down to like my systems. I have my paper planner next to me with my like, I do my yearly goals, my quarterly goals, my monthly goal. Like I have to have, I talk about, in fact, I just recorded an episode for my podcast where it was all about how to build a business to fit your brain. So it
yeah.
was all ADHD entrepreneurs. And it was like, okay, when you're bowling, if you bowl, like oftentimes it will go in the gutter. And I feel like with ADHD and without some of the like systems and processes and things I have in place, my ball is just going into the gutter like every single day. And so my whole thing now is like, how can I build up bumpers to
Mm.
make sure that like even if the ball kind of like goes one way or another, like it's still hitting the pins at the end of the lane, you know?
Yes, you are singing my tune. That's exactly what I do, what I teach. It's like you gotta have those, and I'm exactly the same. I did all my planning. I planned from September around to September, and I did all my planning over the weekend for literally the next 4 months. Oh my goodness, it feels so good. I just love
Nice.
it. All the dopamine coming from the planning. I love it. Absolutely love it. So you're an entrepreneur coach. Tell me a little bit about how you got into it and the journey and tell me your business love story. I love a business love story.
I started as an accidental entrepreneur. I graduated with a degree in fashion design and moved to a place where I didn't have an opportunity to be in a fashion, there was no fashion industry. So I was like, cool, cool. I'll just like get a job and then I'll start this little, I'll just like do stuff on the side. So I was doing one-off bridesmaids dresses and flower girl dresses and homecoming dresses. And over the course of 8 years, it went from that to me winning awards. I've dressed celebrities. My stuff has been on The Bachelor. I've sold on Zappos.com, like all these
Oh.
amazing accolades. And I was a very, very, very talented designer. What I realized over the course of the 8 years was it was not the industry I was supposed to be in.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot through it, but it just wasn't a long-term reality for me. And so I was meditating one day in 2015, and I heard this very clear, fashion isn't it, shut it down, walk away.
Mm.
And I closed my business 72 hours later and was
Wow.
like, cool, game on. Like, where am I going next? Because I don't have a plan B. So I had just hired a business coach and now had no business. So we kind of sat down and I was looking back through old emails and what is my skill set and what do I want to do? Because I don't really want to go work for anyone else. Realized that women had been asking me for years to help them in their businesses to do what I had done in my business. And so I was like, well, I guess I could start coaching. I'd also had a day job for 8 years as a counselor. So I was like, all right, I have 8 years of business experience, 8 years of counseling / coaching experience. Let's see how this works.
Mm.
And within a year, I had a 6-figure business. And then, within a year of that, I was a best-selling author, and just like all these things just kept going and growing and unfolding. And it has grown to the point where I firmly believe that entrepreneurship is going to be what creates wage equity for women and under-resourced populations. And so it's kind of become my calling card, is like really helping individuals step into the personal empowerment that comes from being the captain of your own ship,
Mm-hmm.
basically.
Yeah. I love that. Except that's I think though obviously running a business is difficult, isn't it? It's not the easiest route. I spoke to I think it was in an email that I sent recently about the fact that it's not easy, but I wasn't built for easy and brackets boring things. Like I know it's for some people, and that's fantastic, and each to their own. But I've never been able to be managed very effectively because I'm always thinking, well, I can probably do a better job than you. Not in a cocky way, but in a like a yeah, but you're not doing it like this process, like you were talking about, like where are the process, where's the systems, the ball's going to go in the gutter, etc. And I've really found that like when you are running your own business, it's just the most empowering thing in the world, isn't it? Knowing that you can control it all and knowing that you've got to set into that identity, haven't you, of running a business.
Yes. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I still fantasize about like, I wonder if I could just be one of those people that's just like, okay. That's like
Yeah,
not
yeah, me
like
too.
always aiming at the next thing. Like, could I so last year I accidentally started a nonprofit and I now run the only women's wealth conference in the Midwest. And I'm getting ready to start another business. What is wrong
Hmm.
with me? But on the way to acupuncture this morning, I was driving and I was like, could I ever just be the person
Mm.
that just like has my entrepreneurial coaching business and is like, just good? Like, could I just do that and be good
Hmm.
and like not want for more? Like, not, and I feel like I'd get bored,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I don't know if I'd ever even try because I feel like I'd just drive myself crazy.
Yeah. What does your partner say? Because my husband's always saying to me, I just would love just a quiet year, just 1 year where not much happens. And we've been
That's
together 12, nearly 13 years now. And every year it's like, there's something else coming. What do they say?
we're still pretty new. So our 3-year anniversary is this Saturday. Um,
Oh,
and
lovely.
then we are getting married in October. We're having our wedding reception. And so I don't know if he's fully grasped the concept that like this is just me. Like this is just the rest of our lives. I try to, and this is something, I was single for 12 years as an entrepreneur, and I really over that 12 years began to see like I don't when I was single, I would work 7 days a week. I didn't care. I had nothing better to do. My cat didn't care. Like she
Yeah.
was just happy that I was sitting in one spot and I could pay attention to her, you know? And so leading up to meeting him, I had kind of started retooling my business to be like, it, you know, taking weekends off and being able to take evenings off to spend with a partner and being able to unplug and not be on my phone all the time and not, so I feel like I'm better than I was.
Mm.
Although I asked him this new business that I'm looking at starting, I was like, do you want to go in on it with me? And he was like, no, I don't. And I was like, okay, cool.
With me and my husband, he's like, well, you dream big and I tether you to the ground. And then we meet in the middle. I'm like, yeah, I think if I didn't have you, I would be doing, you know, I know I'd be working 7 days a week, 14 hours a day or something. It would be ridiculous. So tell me about your non-profit, because last year you had a big, that was the first year as a conference, wasn't it?
Yep. Yeah. In fact, a year ago today, I was not well.
Okay.
It's a little like, it's interesting looking back on it. Being a really high achieving, ambitious woman is great and it drives me and it keeps me going and all of these things. But sometime last year, I 100% bit off more than I could chew.
Mm-hmm.
And I committed to this conference where initially I thought about doing it smaller and someone had said to me, like, that's too small, you need to do it bigger. And instead of checking in with myself, I was like, oh, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
So I committed to doing a conference at a convention center, which I didn't fully understand. And unfortunately, a lot of business is learning through trial and error. There are just things you don't know that you don't know and things you don't know to ask. And so I signed an agreement with the convention center here in Tulsa. And like 2 weeks before the event, I get a $15,000 AV bill.
Okay.
And I had already, like, they made me commit to a catering minimum. Like I bit off a lot more than I
Right.
could chew. And it was a great learning lesson. But at the conference last year, I was like, we're doing it again next year. And I launched tickets. And so this year it's in November, done things a little differently. We don't have room fees. We don't have AV fees. Our catering numbers are due 72 hours in advance
Mm-hmm.
rather than a year in advance, right? Like, so, you know, I'm learning over the years how to temper some of that like big goal energy that I have and say, okay, well, what if I don't do 500 people year one?
Mm-hmm.
What if I grow into that? And what does that look like? And how is that going to serve me and the organization and my relationships and my board members, you know, like a little differently. I think I have a tendency to eat the entire elephant at
Mm-hmm.
once.
Yep.
And I'm always telling my clients and then tempering within myself, like one bite at a time. So, yeah, last year I launched the only women's wealth conference in the Midwest. It was, you know, half of what I quote unquote needed it to be in terms of numbers to make it successful. Well, I don't want to say that. It was still a huge success. I
Mm.
still have women in the community coming up to me saying, those 2 days changed my life. They changed the trajectory of my life, right? So
Wow.
there are some decisions I wish I would have done differently, but I also feel like that's just entrepreneurship. Like
Yeah.
we have to take risks because the risk of staying where we are is a bigger risk than the risk of where we're going. And so we have to take risks. It's just a matter of, I think, getting a little more effective in our risk-taking decision-making process. Because
Mm.
again, like last year was kind of the big risk that it was the first one that where Jordan and I had been together where I was like, I'm going to do this thing. And he didn't, you know, he's never been with me for one before. And so he was like, great, do it. I believe in you, which he will always believe in me. But also it was I'm like, oh, I'm making decisions for more than just myself now. And what does that mean? And how does that need to operate? And how does that need to work? And do he and I need to have different conversations around money and wealth and what that
Mm.
looks like? And so the last year I've learned so much. And the conference is happening in 64 days. So Yay.
I love that you that you know the days. That is a countdown. And so how did you get into doing that? What was the sort of path in you saying, "Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to launch this wealth conference for women." What was the where did the idea come from?
So I mentioned earlier that I closed my fashion business because of a meditation.
Mm,
I actually also wrote my best-selling book because of a meditation. I decided it was time to give a TED talk because it came to me in meditation, and I decided to launch this conference because it came to me in a meditation. And so many of my best ideas come when I'm in that kind of space of nothingness, like in the void.
mm,
And it was a vision that came to me in August of 2020. And I was like, cool, but I'm literally sheltering in place in my parents' Airbnb with my cat and my best friend in southern Minnesota. Like, this is not the time,
mm,
but like, I'll put it on the shelf and, universe, we can talk about it later. And
mm.
then as I was preparing for my TED talk, it kind of started becoming apparent, like doors started opening, people started introducing me to other people, like think the ball started rolling, and I followed it. So a lot of my stuff comes to me and almost like through me
Mm.
rather than being something that originates from me.
Yeah, I love that. How long have you been meditating for?
I think the first meditation, when I moved back to the States, my boss at the time was, I jokingly call her my gateway drug to spirituality, because we shared an office. And so like I had massive allergies at the time, and she would give me tinctures, or she'd be like, hold on to this crystal, or like little things here and there. I got in a car accident. She got me a yoga mat. Like she introduced me to her Reiki healer, like all these things. And so there was a day, it must have been in, I don't know, 2007 or 2008, where she was like, I'm going to a meditation tonight. Do you want to come with me? And I was like, I've
Yeah.
never meditated before. Sure. And that spun into, so that was 2007, 2008. So 2023, I did a 7-day meditation retreat with Joe Dispenza. And
Okay, yeah.
yeah, so
Mm.
I've a little while, like what, 15, 16-ish years.
Brilliant. I love that. I do meditate, but I'm not I want to be better at it. It's definitely a practice thing, isn't it? I was wondering what you were holding in your hand. So you've got a crystal in your hand. What
I mean,
crystal is it?
my entire desk is covered in crystals. This one's an aqua aura quartz, and I like it. It's got this little flat side. So I think this is part of my like ADHD-ness
Yeah,
or something. I rub it, or this crystal, which is I forget what it's called. I think it's a chryso something. I can't remember.
right.
Anyways, a chunk of it, like I don't know if you can see it, but a chunk of it like
Yeah,
got,
yeah, I can see. Yeah.
and it's like the perfect place for me to, and I have like, I mean, my whole desk is covered in crystals, and I have like tuning forks back here, all sorts of
Love that.
like things just to help me stay in the zone and like help me stay focused and aligned. And
Yeah.
I'm wearing a nice big
Oh,
ocean
wow.
jasper from Madagascar.
Oh, I
So,
love that. I've changed because it's in the evening here in the UK. I've got my pajama bottoms on because no, dress underneath, But normally I carry I've got crystals in my pockets, and then I've got this one around my neck. And this one was given to me by my Reiki healer, like, well, it's
oh,
like there's
nice.
two of them, and he put loads of Reiki in it for me, and I lost it, and I was devastated. I was like, I can't go back until I found my Reiki crystal. And then I found it at the weekend, and I was like, went straight on. It was like, that's brilliant. I know
I
where I am
like,
now.
what's the one on your finger too? It looks very
This,
similar to,
yeah, this is Labradorite. Is that Labradorite, I
okay.
think? Yeah, and I wear that every
Yeah.
single day. I didn't actually realize it was a crystal, but they 'cause when you go to Reiki, you have to take off all your jewelry, don't you, and everything. So I never went with them. And then what? So it's a couple that do my Reiki, and the lady Angela, she said, "Oh, what other things do you have?" I was like, "I've got this ring, but I haven't brought it with me." So the next time I'm going, I'm like literally taking all of the crystals I carry so they can put all the Reiki in. But yeah, my favorite is citrine. I carry citrine with me everywhere. I've got citrine. I actually haven't got it in, but I've got a citrine ring that I wear every day. Piece of citrine that I bought myself as soon as I started my business because I was like, that's for success, and that goes in my pocket every day. And I kiss them as I put them into my pocket.
Oh, I love that. This one is a Herkimer
Oh
that
wow.
I wear on my
Oh,
finger.
that's
Not every day, but most.
gorgeous.
And then I would say one of my favorites is lapis. I have lapis all over because it was Cleopatra's stone. She believed that it had like magical properties, so it's called the Queen's Stone. And so I have like
Oh.
one on either side of my desk, and then I have them all over. I think there's one like in our bedroom. I have them everywhere.
I love that. I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. I love it when you meet people and you're like, oh yeah, I'm interested in that too. It's so exciting. So what is the like with your business right now when you're coaching, what are the main things that you teach? What's your like passion to talk about?
What I see with a lot of established entrepreneurs is that they've kind of like piecemealed their business together. Because one of the things about people that are really good at what they do is that they're really good at what they do, but
Mm,
they haven't necessarily studied business.
yeah.
So I have a lot of people come to me and say, like, oh, I launched my business, but like I put up a website and no one's come to it, or my friends have bought from me, but now what? Or they've kind of like piecemealed and done what they know, but they don't necessarily understand how every part of their business kind of fits together and forms
Mm,
this like cohesive ecosystem.
mm,
And so a lot of what I do is pull in, okay, what is your lead generation strategy and how is it aligned with the marketing you're putting out? So like the nurture campaigns, but also lead gen sequence, a funnel,
yeah.
and how are all those things related to and fitting in with your revenue streams, and what are your profit margins, and are you paying
Mm,
yourself? And like, so I view business as kind of, I know there's a lot of people that like just teach funnels or just teach Instagram or just teach, this thing or that thing. For me, it's an entire puzzle. And if
mm.
you don't have the right pieces, it will never, believe me, I'm a professional puzzler. I like, if you have the wrong piece, your puzzle will never be finished.
Yeah.
So, and not that we're ever done in this lifetime, but there's a way to strategically craft the totality of your business so that everything's working together like a
Yep.
well-oiled machine that most of the solopreneurs that come to me just don't have.
No. Yeah. I mean, it's so funny you said puzzle because that's how I teach it. It's like we've got to find all of the pieces of the puzzle, jigsaw puzzle. What does the picture look like before you do it? What do you want it to look like? And then we're going to fit the puzzles in. And also the machine. Like, I think obviously running an online business, communicating that to other people sometimes can be a bit tricky. They just don't get it. Like they don't like people outside of the online world. And I was talking to my father-in-law about it and I said, think about it. He used to be an engineer. And I was like, my business is a machine and it has to have all of these moving parts, exactly what you're saying, like all of the cogs of the wheel and understanding how each of those pieces work together and in a holistic way that works for you. And as soon as I put that metaphor together, he was like, oh, I get it. I see. So it's like, right, it's a machine that looks like a jigsaw puzzle and it all needs to work together perfectly.
Yep. Yep. My grandma started me doing puzzles when I was very, very young. And now I do like the most sadistic puzzles. Like I did a puzzle that was all white once.
No. How
Yeah.
did you do that?
Took a long time, but I did it.
That's amazing. I did a
Yeah.
puzzle at Christmas and I laid it all out. It was like a really massive one. And my father, it was my father again, he came in and wanted to do some of the pieces. And I was like, don't touch my puzzle because then I haven't done it. It's my puzzle. And yesterday I was like doing some with my little boy. I just love them. I do really love them. I want to do more. And I think it's like having that because when I don't know about you, but when I start a puzzle, I can't finish it. Like I mean, I can't not finish it. I become a completely zoned in, laser focus, addicted to doing this puzzle, and I can't do anything else until it's finished. Same with a book, actually. I'm just one of those like I've got to be careful
There's
what I start.
one puzzle. Yeah, there's one puzzle. It's still on our dining room table. I think my mother-in-law gave it to me in May, maybe. Yeah, I think she gave it to me for my birthday. And it is the worst puzzle I've ever done. And it's not even because of the photo. The pieces fit in multiple places. And so like you get this whole section done and then you realize this piece doesn't fit, which then messes with all the other pieces around it. And I just had to put a tablecloth over it. So it's still sitting on our dining room table. But I'm like, I have never hated a puzzle in my life. And I've got to walk away from this one. So it's been there for like 4 months and I like I see it sticking out and I look at it and I'm like, I don't want to take it apart, but also I'm not committed to finishing it. It's the first time in my life it's ever happened.
I love that. I would be doing my head in. I'd be like, I can't put it back in the box, but I've got to finish
I know.
it.
I'll send you a photo on Instagram later. You can see it.
Please do. Please do. So what is so you've got your conference. Tell me about the big dreams that you've got. What are you working towards in the future?
So what we really want to do with the nonprofit. So in my for-profit, obviously I serve women who are already in business. They're ready to, radically expand and accelerate their results. Like one of the women I worked with this year, she did her entire annual income in 3 months.
Wow.
Another one of my clients tripled her monthly revenue and has sustained it every month except January. Women that are already kind of like started and ready to turn up the heat. The nonprofit, what we want to do is we want to help under-resourced women start businesses. Because I've done a little bit of math. I'm not a huge fan of math, but I can do some simple math when I have a calculator, and ran the numbers. There's the majority of women in America are still working paycheck to paycheck. And a lot of them are working $10, $12, $15 an hour jobs. So I did the math and was like, okay, if they wanted to earn $5,000 a month, how many hours do they have to work to get there? And it's like close to 100 hours a week.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, for me, 5,000 is like I was multiple 5 figures in my business within the first year per month. And I'm like, 5,000 is bare minimum. And if there are individuals out there who literally cannot, if you think about working 100 hours a week, then potentially adding on being a parent or like, it's just a lot. And so I'm like, what if we could get some people to help fund scholarships to start running women through a program that's already been around for 7 years. It already has demonstrated results. It already works. And we were to start giving these under-resourced individuals the resources they need to actually create a financial future for themselves.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the plan with the nonprofit. And then the conference is like our annual fundraiser for it. And then we're also going to be doing some extra fundraising in the coming year just to hopefully be able to run some additional scholarships. We're partnering up with the Black Wall Street Chamber here in Tulsa to hopefully run some of their people through the scholarships. So that's kind of, my whole goal with everything I do is getting more money into the hands of women. Like that's just creating wage equity, creating financial freedom. And so I just do it in a whole bunch of different ways.
Love that. That's really cool. That's really, really cool. I wonder, there must be something over here like that, but that's it's really cool to just sort of see there's a gap and have you've obviously got a lot of action taking juice in you, and then you just think, well, there's something there. I'm just going to go for it and making it work. It seems that anything that you put your mind to, you make it happen. Yeah.
I try. I mean, I'm not going to lie and say that I have 100% track record. I mean, I'm right now really sitting with, am I committed to doing this conference again a year from November? And I don't have an answer to it yet. I know that I will get an answer because when I ask the universe to give me a clear answer, I always get a clear answer. But right now, I don't know if that clear answer is going to be yes for 2025 or no for 2025. And I have to say that closing down my fashion business, I mean, I had 9 months of having to really come to grips with quote unquote failing. And what does that mean about me? And does that then mean that I'm a failure? And then, you know, like all the stories we tell ourselves. And what I've experienced over the last now close to 10 years is I'm totally okay if the universe is like, no.
Mm.
And I just have to trust that, you know, could I muscle my way into it? Yeah. But also I've learned over the years that if you really truly want to do big, huge, expansive things, working harder is not going to get you there.
No.
So could I muscle myself into making it a success again for 2025? Yes, I could. But if it's not aligned, the best option is to not do it.
Mm. Yeah, because your energy is just not going to be there. It's going to be too draining, because it's when you're working on something that's totally aligned, it's like you don't feel tired working on it, do you? Because the energy is there to just
No.
power through.
But also then doors open, the right conversations happen, the right people are drawn into your world. You become magnetic when you're in alignment. If you're fighting against something, you're literally repelling energy, right? Like think about magnets flipping the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
If they're not coming together, they're repelling each other. And believe me, I have tried to muscle my way into things and it's exhausting. And maybe it's turning 40, I don't know, but I'm so over that phase of my life. Like I just am unwilling to muscle myself into things anymore. And if it's not, and that's not to say that like if it's not easy, I'm not doing it. Like that, it's not like that, but I'm not going to fight against the current when I could just let go and move with the current.
Yeah, letting go. That's the thing, isn't it? Letting go and trusting that everything's going to work out. But don't you have to just go through so many stages of, this is a risk, I'm really scared, but it feels okay, I'm just going to go for it, and then go do the other way where it doesn't feel as good, or you know, like you said, muscle through, and then knowing that sometimes you just go, okay, I'm just gonna, you know, what I might need to do actually today is go and have a nap and see what happens on the other side of that nap instead of pushing through and just trusting, you know, I mean, you're totally singing my song, because I just feel that we don't listen to our intuition enough sometimes. Like we've been trained not to. And, you know, with my clients, it's listening to that gut instinct, because you do, like my clients know the right next steps. They might need to learn some new skills, have some more knowledge, but actually what's best for them, they've usually got an idea. And it's about trusting that voice, or giving more space through meditation, writing, whatever, to open up that space to say, oh, there you are, little voice. Here's your moment. I want to hear you now. And confusing that with the doubt that you might hear. And, you know, what do you do to manage any doubt that you might feel?
I mean, so my like quiet practice is really important to me, and I have gotten very in tune with what a yes feels like and what a no feels like.
Mm,
And I'll even ask myself, like, where is this coming from?
mm,
I use a lot of modalities to like help me understand, you know, what's the most aligned versus is that my fear talking, and you know, what does this mean and how does it feel in my body? And like I said, even meditating each day, I will pull cards from various decks that I have, or tarot cards, or yeah, I also think too that being in the curiosity of it has really helped me, because curiosity to me is an open energy of like, well, that was an interesting thought. Like, I wonder where that came from. I
mm,
wonder what's sparking that thought within me. Yesterday, I was sitting on the couch reading a book, and I just had this like existential dread wash over me. And I was like, where is this coming from right now? Because right now, I'm safe and I
mm.
am good and I'm enjoying reading my fiction book. on the couch, like, what is going on right now? And it was like my body's just become so accustomed to being stressed, especially a year ago leading into the conference, right? Like it was just so accustomed to feeling stressed that it was almost like a reflexive instinct.
Mm.
Well, there's only 64 days left of the conference and we're only 30% sold out. And what does that mean? And what about this? And what about that? And I was just like, interesting. And because I got curious about it, I was kind of able to step back and witness it
Mm.
rather than get involved in it. Have you seen the movie Inside Out?
Yeah.
So I think a lot about that movie. And Inside Out 2 came out. I don't know if you saw it this
I
summer. And
haven't
like,
seen it yet. I need to see
oh,
it.
it's coming to Disney Plus, I think, in like 3 or 4 weeks. So
Oh,
not
is
that I'm
it? Oh, okay. I was going to buy it, so well, I won't now.
my fiance's jujitsu instructor recommended he watch it. And so we got to watch the first one, but he hasn't seen the second one yet. I love that movie because it kind of creates separation
Mhm.
between who you are and the emotion you're experiencing. And I think we're not taught to kind of differentiate those two as
Yeah.
separate things.
Hmm.
And so we experience an emotion, right? Like even the failure thing. Well, I failed at this, therefore I am a failure.
Yeah.
Is that really true? Or is it that you walked away from something that was no longer aligned and you're a smart businesswoman, right? Like, so for me, it's a lot of detangling of like old stories, old narratives, old feelings, getting curious, questioning them, journaling them out, talking about them with friends, and kind of coming back to what is my truth, and is that a thought that's useful to me or is it not useful to me? And if it's not useful, at the end of the day, I get to be the one in the driver's seat and decide what my thoughts are and how I'm engaging with them.
Mm. Yeah, that's it. We're not our feelings. It's that label of, I'm of saying a feeling of how you could be feeling about something, but that feeling has come from a thought, and it's about that, like you said, stepping back and being able to look and say, well, that isn't me. That's potentially, my fear speaking. I teach to call it a different name, like those inner critical voices. So if mine's going, I'm so grateful I've done all of this work to the point where if a doubt comes in, I'll be like checking with my intuition, but that's just that, the doubt trying to sabotage it because probably fear of success. So I'm just gonna like bat it away. But mine's called Clara. And Clara can be a right pain in the ass. And I just have to be like, okay, all right, what, it's really interesting that you're getting really loud today. Why is that? Oh, that's because I've been quite brave today. And you want me to get small again? No, I'm not here for that. And like having that dialogue. And I think some people get scared of doing it because they think people are going to think I'm a bit mental. I'm like, well, actually, entrepreneurship is a little bit crazy, but all the best people are. And actually um that boldness and courage to just be exactly who you are, who you are supposed to be, the most vivid version of yourself, no rest for the vivid, and to be able to just present yourself as who you really are, but giving yourself time and space to find out who you really are, and not the person that has been put in the boxes and with the labels and all of that, really listening to who that is. And like I'm about to be 40 in a couple of months, and I think I'm so excited. I've got so
Happy
much
pre-birthday.
planned. Thank you. But I feel like it's like if I'm not going to know now, like I'm just I'm not halfway through my life and I'm already feeling good. So what are the next 40 years and beyond going to look like? Like it's so refreshing and empowering to know that we have this power that potentially, the women that came before us didn't have, but we get to create those stories, rewrite those stories for us and for the generations coming up. But it does require us to be brave and for people to go, what? Doing what? And for
I
us to
know.
go, yeah, but you haven't, your opinion, you're not my, I always just think, are they your dream client? Well, it doesn't really matter then what they're saying because you know, if it can be quite destructive. But yeah, it's fascinating. I love talking about this stuff.
Isn't it so cool that I don't know obviously how it was in the UK, but I remember growing up when my mom and stepdad turned 40, it was like you're over the hill,
Yeah, that's it.
right?
You're
And
old.
like
You're done. Yeah.
it's all just downhill from here. And I feel like, I don't know if our generation has just like rebranded it or what, but I feel like I'm not even close to the top of my hill. Like, I feel like in some ways, even though I'm 10 years into my business, like I'm just getting started.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
similarly to you, I'm like, it's only up from
Yeah.
here. We're not going down. We're not going back. Like there's none of that. I'm only getting better from here. My mom asked me several years ago something about retirement because I used all of my retirement savings to start this business. And she asked me about retirement and what I was going to do and, you know, where that, like how I was going to replenish that money and like all this stuff. And I was like, you know, I don't know if I'm ever going to retire.
I'm so glad you just said that because as you were saying, speaking just before that, I was thinking, I hope she says she's not, does not going to retire because I literally had this conversation with my father-in-law 2 days ago. Same thing.
Well, and, you know, I feel like past generations have gotten into occupations because it made sense, right? Like
Yes.
my grandfather and my aunt's husband like all went into banking, right? And like all that stuff
Mm,
because it made sense. And they wanted my dad to go into it. I mean, my dad had a lot of issues, but banking would have just like leveled him,
mm,
right? And like I look at people had to retire because they were sacrificing themselves for so many years and
mm,
occupations that they just like didn't want to be in, but that they kind of had to be in because it was what was available. And, you know, I've explained to my parents, my stepdad's like, you know, you could get a really good annual job. And I'm like, you know, I could make that much in a month in my business and
mm.
have made that much in a month in my business. And like, so I love what I do between the books that I'm going to be publishing in the years to come, the, you know, speaking, the courses, I don't know if I will ever retire because, I mean, do I get tired on some days? Yes. Do I still want to quit some days? Yes, absolutely. By the way, anyone listening, if anyone ever tells you that they never have a single day where they want to quit their business, they're either lying to you or they're delusional. Like
Yeah,
there
absolutely.
are always, it is normal
Yeah.
to have days where you want to quit, period.
Yeah.
I just had one 2 weeks ago. It was fantastic. Gave myself the day, got myself back together, showed up again the next day. It was
Yeah.
fantastic. But you know, I don't see myself retiring from loving what I do and
No.
being able to do it remotely and travel and I don't know, I just why would I?
Absolutely. I'm creating a life I never want to retire from because, and this is where when I have conversations about work-life balance, I don't have balance because it is all one and I do what I love to do. There are jobs that I don't want to do as much as other jobs, but when they are the jobs that I have, like in the business, and I think, yeah, but I get to do that. I get to do whatever it is. I enjoy most things, but I get to do that thing that makes me money. Money comes into my bank that I make myself. I used to be a teacher. So the whole thing of like, I burnt myself out so badly in that profession. And I just think that version of me, if we, you know, had a sliding door situation and still was in that life, how would she be right now? Like she would be desperate for retirement. She'd be, you know, I was craving not that work, even though I did love it because I love serving, I love my purpose, I love supporting people. But now I get to do it for different people that potentially can go on and change. It's like this whole cycle breaking activities. But same as you, like I'm writing a book. I want to keep on writing. My whole thing is I really, really want to write. And I am writing, but you know, like that's, you know, always been the big dream to write loads of books. And being And it, to be fair, actually saying that out loud, my dad was like, yeah, but you haven't published that book yet. I'm like, yeah, I've got 30,000 words done. But that is through me and my self-sabotage and growing the business and being a mum. Like I can't do everything all at once, and having the grace and the compassion with myself to go, you can't do it all at once, but you can do quite a lot and rest. Like I don't know if you're into human design, but I'm a projector, and
Oh yeah.
I have to rest all the time. And I remember not resting. And everyone says to me, "Oh my God, you've got so much energy." And the reason why I've got so much energy now is one, because I'm doing stuff I love to do. Now that helps. But also because I have so many breaks, but I get so much done because I'm just mindful of that energy. But it's my life isn't work, it's purpose. It's more than work. It makes money, but it's also that money that, I suppose, our relationship with money and how we work for it. One thing that I had to really work through is when I was a teacher, and I had a wonderful conversation on another episode actually with someone who had grown up in poverty like I had and then had become a teacher, and she was in the States as well, and she was saying it's that thing where you work so hard in a profession like that, don't get paid that much more. You might be given a promotion but expected to work even harder for not that much more money. And so it's never about your magic that you get paid. It's never about your essence, who you are, what you bring to the table is just yourself. It's always proving your worth by the amount of output. And it's taken me so long, and I am still working it. I think it's so ingrained in me that actually, like last week, there was something, I had a week off, completely off, like phone off, no emails, nothing. I just tidied cupboards and did like wife and mum shit, like brilliant, and baked and stuff. And there
Love
was
it.
this, I had a mini panic, a little wonky morning. I thought, oh, the only solution to this is to go and do some work. And I was like, what if I just do nothing? What if I just go, so it'll be fine? It completely was like everything has been, I've had actually a brilliant week. And it's just about recognizing that people don't work with me, same as you, same with anyone. People don't work with people because of your output. It's about you and your energy and how you make them feel. That's why we run our businesses. But it's communicating that through business, isn't it? Because I was thinking like the people in my membership, reminding them all the time, even if they make the most beautiful jewelry, earrings, what else do we have? There's so many businesses, but it's like people buy from you because of how you make them feel, the joy that you put into those products, that then they get the joy and they get to like absorb the joy through what you've made. That's what you're selling, not your
Yeah.
output.
Yep. I am constantly retraining my women to not price their stuff based on hours,
Yeah.
because I'm like, you can't, first of all, I think of my clients when I'm shampooing my hair, when
Yeah.
I'm doing the dishes, when I'm driving, when I like
All
my
the time.
brain. A coach told me once, she's like, your brain operates like a spaghetti bowl. Like it's just all up in there all the time, right? Maybe it's my ADHD. I don't know. But I can't not think of my clients. So if I were to used to be on the billable hour, if I were to be on the billable hour for my clients, I think it would actually cost them more than if I charge them, right, like a monthly retainer or
Yeah.
whatever. And so I'm constantly like price based on value.
Mm.
Like, yes, you need to run your numbers, you need to know your profit margins, you need to know what are your expenses, like you have to know all those things, but also you have to price based on value. And if you're undervaluing yourself, few things are going to happen. One, eventually you're going to resent it.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to feel like you're putting out way more energy than you're receiving back. Two, you're probably going to also get clients that are undervaluing you and are going to ask for way more
Mm.
because they don't value the work that you're doing with them,
Yeah.
right? Like it becomes such a messy thing, whereas I'm always like, what's the impact that you're providing? So for example, for me, if 95% of my clients are, some of the things I mentioned earlier, doing a year's worth of revenue within 90 days, tripling their monthly revenue and consistent, building up like 5 new revenue streams and making them all cash flow, like building out all these things. I don't charge. Someone just applied to work with me and they're like, I don't know, $100 an hour. No, I don't charge $100 an hour because that's not like the equal aligned value of what you're receiving that I'm putting out versus like what you're putting out and I'm receiving as payment. Those two things don't match. So I'm always talking to women about you need to price your stuff based on value. And part of that value is joy. It's how they feel. It's the totality of what they're receiving that you are selling that needs to be taken into consideration.
Yeah, all about the joy. The more joy you get, the more money you make anyway, isn't it? Oh, this is, I think we could probably, I've just noticed the time. It's one of them,
I know,
you
right?
know, you have the interviews and you're like, oh my God, that was really cool. We're just getting to the end of this. It was brilliant. I ask everyone, before I ask you the question, the 10-year question, Bri, where can people find you? What can you give to them? How can they get in your world?
So you can visit briseeley.com. Depending on when this is coming out, I have a new freebie coming up, but it will pop up on the front of my website when you go there. You can find me on Instagram at Bri Seeley. It's probably one of my more favorite places to hang out. If you DM me, I will voice memo you back. Like that's just how I roll. You haven't gotten a voice memo yet from me, but you probably will at some point.
No, but I sent you one today, actually.
Yes, you did. And actually, if I hadn't have been traveling, I would have sent you one back. And if you're interested in learning more about the nonprofit or the Women's Wealth Conference, you can go to successbecomesme.com.
Brilliant. Okay, so 10-year question. What do you wish you'd known 10 years ago that you know now?
Oh, that is a great question. I wish that I would have known, because 10 years ago, I was still in my fashion business and I was having probably daily, if not every other day, panic attacks. I was super depressed. And I thought that if I just got the results, that all of those things would go away. And what I wish I would have known 10 years ago, and I feel like I probably should have known, but didn't recognize the signs, was that outer results are not a solution to an inner problem. And if you are using outer results as a solution to an inner problem, it will always be temporary.
Wow.
And so I hate to say this because I try not to regret anything, because I wouldn't be where I am today had I not gone through everything I've gone through. But also I wish that I wouldn't have stayed in pain as long as I did and trusted that there was another pathway available to me. Because at the time, I even said to my mom 10 years ago, if I don't have fashion, I have nothing. I have no reason to be on this planet any longer if I don't have fashion. And I kind of wish that I would have known that the pathway doesn't have to be filled with that much pain. And also there's always other pathways if that's not the one you're supposed to stay on.
Have you read Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert? It's in there, isn't it? Yeah, such a good book. But yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I've been talking to my clients in my mastermind this week about internal and external validation. And when we constantly seek that external validation in the forms of checking Instagram all the time, the likes, the emails, have we got, sales, etc., that we're trying to fill a hole. And really the only way that we can fill that void is with love for ourselves. So I've set them all this task of like falling in love with themselves and myself as well. And just, what do I love most about myself today? And it doesn't have to be physical. It can be something like, I think mine today was, I love the fact that I have been on it this morning and got up and had discipline and did this, that, and the other. And that's just one thing, but just keeping focus. And people, I think, get scared of doing that because it's about being big-headed or don't what you love yourself. And it's like this, there's like a negative sort of attitude about it. When really we have to love ourselves first so that we can go on to help all these people. If you're constantly seeking that external stuff, like you said, that output to solve something inside of us, it's just not going to work. You're not going to have enough to give.
Well, and if your success, like if you're not just embodied in your success, and your success is hinging on making a sale every day, or
Yeah.
getting 15 new Instagram followers every day, or, whatever, if you have a day where you don't meet that, then all of a sudden the switch is flipped and you're like, oh, I wasn't a success today. And then
Hmm.
that becomes a very slippery slope. When the truth is, for me, I'm like, there are days where showing up is is the measure of success for me, right? Like, or even taking the day off, that day when I wanted to quit a few weeks ago, where I was like, I am just going to give myself the space and permission that I need to just like take care of myself today. And that
Mm.
is a success.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. You got to feel the feelings. That's what they're there for. But riding the wave, like the amount of waves I've tried to bury and they just come back like tsunamis. You just got to ride the wave and trust that your boat is built strong enough you're not going to sink. I think that's just a little bit of a storm. Oh, Bri, it's
Yeah.
been absolutely gorgeous talking to you. Thank you so much.
Same.
Thank you much.
Thank
I've
you.
got to say about our fake goodbye. Everybody that listens to this for ages, I always forget. I do often. I've been better recently, but we'll do a fake pretend goodbye and then a real goodbye.
Perfect.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for being here, Bri. Lovely to have you.
Same. Thank you.